there, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Hannah. I am an artist and an art teacher. I teach fashion design at the high school level, and I am here to share all of my knowledge and experience and my love and passion for all things art and fashion and lots of other creative things in between. Today, we are focusing on what to do with all of those unwanted clothes that are sitting at the back of your closet and inevitably collecting dust after years and years of just sitting, not doing anything. There's gonna be 2 quick DIY projects at the very end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Let's get into it. So, unwanted clothes, you can donate them, you can do a lot of different kind of donations, and those are all great, but we want to do more than that because unfortunately, even though a lot of us may be donating, only a small percentage of that actually goes into the thrift stores and gets reused or rebought. About 84% of clothing, 84% of clothing ends up in a landfill or an incinerator. Because of that, we want to look at maybe doing something else than just donating our clothes to make sure that they get reused and actually have a new life to them. I truly believe in sustainability and trying to make the most out of the clothing that we wear, and if we're not going to use our clothing, then we want to make sure it gets a new use or a new home. This increased overconsumption of textile goods and clothing from the rise of fast fashion has really occurred in the past 50 years. The rise of the sewing machine and being able to mechanically sew our clothes. This has made it so much easier for companies to turn out a ton more different fashion pieces. So we need better solutions to get rid of the clothes that we no longer wear. While we do that, we can also focus on slowing our consumption down and being a little bit more mindful of where we purchase, buying more high quality goods if that's possible for you. Each year, the average United States citizen discards approximately between 70 to 81 pounds of clothing and other textile goods. I don't want these statistics to scare you. I know they can be bleak and discouraging, but I want you to take this as a call to action to try and do something better for yourself, for your community, for the planet as a whole. I think these solutions that I researched can help you do that. They're a great start for anyone who's just trying to live a little bit more sustainably and help make change. So let's get into the solutions. Solution number 1, give them to your family and your friends. For anybody that you know. A really great way to do this actually is to gather a bunch of friends of yours and hold a clothing swap. I know there are some groups out there on like Facebook or other apps, stuff like that, where you can actually create a group and create a clothing swap group. I think giving clothes that you are not wearing to somebody who you care about deeply could be a really nice way to give new life to that garment. Solution number 2, trying to sell them so that they absolutely make it to another home. I'm gonna go into a little bit more depth here because I think this one deserves more research. I went on a journey to sell some of my old clothes. There are a couple apps that I tried out and I have some opinions on each one. Besides the apps, there is also Plato's Closet, which is like a resale place. You can go to a consignment store that's similar. I know there's a lot of criticism about Plato's Closet. They don't give you a lot of money for the clothing that they do keep, and they don't tend to take a lot of clothing, especially if you bring them lots of it, because it is hard for them to go through all of that clothing. I say if you're gonna go to Plato's Closet or a resale store, don't take huge batches. Give them a small grouping so that they can really, with care, go through each piece and examine and then give you an estimate on how much they could give you for that clothing. There are 3 different apps that I've tried out. One of them is called Vinted. I have had Vinted for over a year now, and I will say I think it's actually going downhill. Not to be shady about it, I think that Vinted is great if you are just trying to rehome the pieces that you have in your closet that you could part with for $3. I did try Depop, and so far I like Depop. I think that the sellers on Depop definitely put a lot of love and care into the pictures of each piece that they're selling. A lot of people, it looks like, also do style boxes, which I think is really, really cool. Pricing wise, Vinted is like the low end, like really cheap. Depop, it looks like, is kind of like medium range. Like you could have like a $10 piece, but you could have a $40 piece on there. The other one I wanted to talk about that I tried recently is Poshmark. And I will say the sign up process for Poshmark, wild. Like it was a lot. I had immediately 140 followers that I didn't want, and then like people just keep following you and like resharing your stuff. And I get that it's supposed to be a social app, but I was getting so many notifications. I literally went into the app and turned off all of my notifications. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'm gonna show you just like a scroll of all of the different notifications that are on there because I couldn't take it. I had to turn them all off. It was just too much for me. Poshmark, it looks like, is a great place if you're trying to sell like vintage or like really specific items that people are looking for. It is on the higher end. There are some items on there that are on like a higher price range. I think so far I'm enjoying Depop the most. Let's move into solution number 3, clothing take-back programs. This is something that I did not know about until very recently. I would say within the past 2 years. And I think it's on the rise. A lot of these programs are relatively very new, so it makes sense. We are trying to be more sustainable. These programs come about. The first take back program I'm going to talk about is from 4 Days. You purchase a $20 take back bag. You fill it with anything you really want. It could be clothing, socks, underwear, whatever. And then once you scan the QR code on the bag, you send it back to them and you get $20 closet cash. Then you can spend to your heart's desire on all things 4 Days on their website, which I think is really cool. It's kind of like an online thrift store. The next one is called Retold, and on Retold you do something similar where you get a take back bag, you fill it up, you send it back. I don't really know too much about Retold. I didn't get to do a ton of research on them yet. It seems like they're more of a closet cleaning service that you buy bags and then you send them the clothes back. They were on Shark Tank though. They seem really cool. Props to Retold. I want to talk about Bombas. No. With Bombas, you fill up the bag, 8 pounds of clothing, up to, that's the maximum. Drop it in the mail, they handle the rest. Bombas does the same program with 4 Days, except it's a smaller bag, I believe. And then you get $10 credit to spend at their website instead of the 4 Days website. So the last one I'm going to talk about as a take back program is the Levi's recycling jeans program. Basically, you send them your old jeans. It has to be own brand jeans, denim shorts, and trucker jackets currently. They don't accept any kids clothing and accessories or items from other labels. What they can't take back, they end up donating. So if you accidentally send them something like that, they'll donate it for you, which we're trying to avoid, but regardless. You make an appointment through the website and you're allowed to donate up to 5 items per appointment. They're willing to pay you anywhere from between $5 to $30 per item in store credit. It's kind of similar amongst all these take back programs that you get to spend the money on their products. Because of that, I think that the best option is probably something like the 4 Days program or the Bombas program. You get to give back the clothes and it's immediate, like you know you're gonna get $20 store credit or $10 store credit. We are gonna move on to number 4, which is to dye your clothes or to tie-dye your clothes or even to bleach dye your clothes. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're viewing this video, you probably have done at some point tie-dye in your lifetime. You probably have not done just regular dyeing clothes or bleach dyeing clothes, which can be a little bit more tricky. Bleach dyeing, tie-dyeing, or just dyeing clothes is a really great way to give them a new life, because ultimately it turns them into like a whole new piece of clothing that you haven't had before. Nobody else has it. Nobody else has the same piece of clothing like you do. It's completely unique to just you. And with that, we're gonna move on to number 5. Number 5 is making 2 different DIY projects. How to make a reusable bag and reusable cleaning rags. You do not have to have any sewing experience. You don't have to sew this at all unless you really, really want to. So I'll show you what it looks like to sew. Let's do DIY number 1. Let's make a reusable bag out of an old t-shirt.
So for both projects, we are gonna need a pair of scissors. If you're doing both, you're gonna need 2 old t-shirts. You could do the second project with something other than a t-shirt, but I recommend doing something that has a absorbent fabric like cotton or something more natural. If you're using fabrics like spandex, polyester, or basically factory made, man-made fabrics, they're not as absorbent and they tend to be better for projects like the first one, the tote bag. So the first one I'm going to show is going to be the tote bag project. So this one I'm gonna move out of the way. And I just have a really old lifeguard t-shirt here. And basically what I am going to do is I'm going to keep the seams of the sides intact. We're gonna leave those alone. But on the top of the shirt, I'm going to cut off the sleeves on both sides, and then I'm gonna cut a hole at the top like you would have for a plastic grocery bag. And then these we can actually use for the next project. So I've just flipped over my shirt here so I can focus on cutting this shape out. We're basically making a N shape or an upside down U shape. And if you wanted this to be like perfectly symmetrical, you can fold them in half. So I'm just gonna do that really quick. Keep it as flat as possible. Make sure there's no wrinkles underneath. And now I'm going to cut similar to the shape that I have on the edge where the sleeve was. I'm gonna cut down in for an opening. And now if you open that up, it starts to kind of look like the top of a grocery bag. We're gonna move to the bottom here. If we were sewing this, we could fold it inside out and put these together and then just sew them together. Inside out like this, from this edge all the way down to the other side. But for our purposes, what we are gonna be doing is we're gonna do it on the outside. So if you're not sewing, keep it right side out like this. And we are gonna cut long lines all the way across the bottom of the shirt. And we're gonna end up tying them all together. And then on each end, you're gonna see that these ones are just a wider flap. So you want to go back and cut those in half on each side. Now all along the bottom, you're gonna have these little tassels, and all I want you to do is just knot them together twice. All the way down. Make sure that you knot them well so they don't come undone. All right, I'm gonna come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so after you're done, it's gonna look something like this. You wanna make sure that you double knot them so that they don't come undone all the way down, and make sure that you really knot those end pieces so those don't come undone.
All right, and then DIY number 2 is really, 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 really easy. Literally getting a pair of scissors and cutting up your old clothes into cleaning rags. I just want to have a chat with you if you buy cleaning rags. Why? All right, let's get into it. For the second DIY, what we are gonna do is we're gonna make this t-shirt into a bunch of cleaning rags. They're typically like rounded corners, or they have some square shape to them, or rectangles. What we are basically just gonna do is we're gonna cut out those simple shapes from here. We're gonna start from the bottom section, and we're just gonna cut a straight line through the middle. And then once I'm halfway through the shirt, I'm gonna cut across. Boom. Okay, done. So now we're gonna take these 2 sections. We're gonna move the top section over for a second. We're just gonna put that away. And we are gonna take these 2 sections, and I want you to open them up flat and lay them on top of each other so that we can cut 2 of the same shape. So now we're gonna cut these in half again. Awesome. And then
with each one, because these edges will start to fray if you leave them undone, what I want you to do is you are gonna pull on the corners and pull on those edges so that they kind of start to roll up. This will prevent the fabric from fraying, and it does work best on t-shirt fabric because of the way it's woven. Now those edges won't fray and they won't come undone. And there you have it, easy cleaning rags. Now let's say you wanted to do the same thing to the top side of the t-shirt. You would basically do the same thing. You cut it down the middle, across the top, and then into more square sections. Pull the edges until they're taut, and then you could do the same thing with the sleeves. If you had them cut off, you pull the edges to make sure that they don't fray, and you can cut it into a section that you like. But I actually think that the sleeves of a t-shirt make for a great cleaning rag because you can hook it around your hand and then use it to clean things like this instead of just having one open piece.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, give me comments. If you have any other content that you would like to see from me, please leave me a comment. I don't like doing outros. I don't think I will. Bye.